What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday, August 8th, 2017. 8/8/2017. And it is the 2,892nd day that the U has not beaten FSU in football. Got a lot of stuff. Got a lot of stuff today. Probably some stuff I want to rant on, but hey, I'm going to say it anyway, right? So we'll see. We'll see how it works out, and we'll go from there. So it might be a little lengthy. Like I said, probably because I ran a little bit. Real quick, combining 2 days, yesterday and today. So some news that you may have already heard of, and then some that you probably just heard of today. First, yesterday, Vince Wilfork, the defensive lineman for the New England Patriots, officially retired. He did it real cute. I think he did a video where he's basically going to be barbecuing. He's going to probably eat his life, eat the rest of his life away. But he's ready to retire. Vince had won two Super Bowls in 13 years, 11 of those with the Patriots. The last two, I think, were with the Texans. And to me, he's probably a surefire Hall of Famer. So congratulations to Vince for a career well done. Quick, I got so much stuff going on here. I'm trying to put it all together so it's not all spread out. But I think that was all of the. Nope, one more NFL note. Brandon Flowers, he retired, former cornerback with the Chargers and the Chiefs, the last team being the Chargers. Of course, he got the name for himself with the Chiefs, and then he had a concussion last year with the Chargers in Week 10, and he never played again. And I think maybe because of that, he just decided to call it quits. That is good to know that he's not just trying to go out there and play for another check. I'm pretty sure he tried to come back, but when you have those ill effects from those concussions, you never know how you're going to react to those. Everybody reacts to those differently, and you never know how serious they are. And if it's something you can go right out there, especially if you're feeling those after effects. It just means if you went out there, especially when you're playing defense, you're hitting people, and it can come right back again, and that's when it starts that's when it could possibly start messing with your physical abilities, and in this case, a head injury or your brain, and you don't want to deal with that. So, kudos to Brandon Flowers for seeing where he probably needed to call it quits, and he actually had a pretty decent season. So, hope everything is okay with him down the line concerning his health. In baseball news, Darren Daulton, former catcher, most notably known with the Phillies when they had their World Series run back in the early 90s, I think it was, also known as Dutch Daulton. He passed away at 55, and I think he had cancer, and he passed away. That's a pretty young age for anybody. He had passed away, and then also Don Baylor, the Major League Baseball MVP in 1979, American League MVP in 1979, played with the Angels among other teams. He passed away at 68, one of the most feared hitters. He also coached the Angels from 2000 to 2002, right before the year they won the World Series. So prayers go out to the families of Darren Daulton and Don Baylor, who passed away yesterday, or it was noted that they passed away yesterday. A couple other baseball notes. Umpire Joe West was suspended for 3 games, and that's basically a series between two teams. They try to make sure that they miss a series. A series is like a game to an umpire. For pitchers, if you miss 5 games, that's basically a start. So they try to make sure it factors in that way. Joe West was suspended for criticizing a player. In this particular case of Adrian Beltre, somebody asked him about players and how they react to his umpiring. He says, and they asked him who's the biggest complainer. He said Adrian Beltre. He said Adrian, argues basically every call. He told him that he was a complainer and he's a terrible umpire. And I guess if you can't criticize the umpires don't have a right to criticize the players, especially not in public. So it's good to see the all is fair side type of thing. Um, so that is interesting there to know that baseball is doing that, but that's good that they are doing that. So we will take that. And so Joe West, hey, do what umpires normally do. You just take it out on him when he comes to the plate, make all kinds of calls, punch him out. Anything that looks remotely close to a strike, call it a strike. We know umpires do that. You're not fooling anybody. So unfortunately, Adrian Beltre, even though you probably didn't say, hey, could you, could you investigate this and what he's saying? You're going to bore the brunt of it because Joe West has been suspended, and he's got to let somebody pay for it. Joe West might be getting time to retire. When you've been doing it a long time, might be time to go. He is actually, I think yesterday he umpired his 5,000th game, and he's third all time. Maybe being out there in that sun has drained him a little bit, drained the mind a little bit. So, and I'm saying that jokingly, but sometimes when you didn't got up there, it may be time for you to just do something else. You've done enough. But he's been a great umpire for the most part, I guess. But if you start getting vocal like that, and you don't normally hear umpires do that, they're probably told not to do that, and they're doing that. Might be time to do something new. What other news that I thought that was interesting in baseball? The Texas Rangers sold Ernesto Frieri to the Seattle Mariners for $1. I didn't know you could do that. I mean, I think back in the day, in the 30s and 20s, or what have you, 1930s and 20s, you could go out there and sell somebody for a six-pack of beer, I don't know, or a plane, I don't know. But you heard those crazy stories back then. You didn't think it happened now, but sold them to the Mariners for $1. The Mariners organization is familiar with Ernesto, at least one of the coaches there from here, so they thought to bring him in. The name is familiar to me because Ernesto has been a relief pitcher. He's even been in the same, been played as a closer for various teams, and I think he was once an Angel. That's why the name is familiar to me. So he's been around a little bit. This year, he did not play in 2016. This year, he's only had 6 appearances, 0-1, and a 5.14 ERA. So maybe the Mariners can do something with him, but they did designate him, I think, to AAA to do that. And he's been in the league since 2009. So I just thought it was interesting that a player got sold for $1. Ernesto Frieri was that guy. So that was interesting there. That is everything on baseball and the NFL. The next thing I have is I thought what was interesting was I'm going to save it for last. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to save the NBA for last. I mean, college football for last. I have a college football story. NBA has decided to make some changes to help out players so they can get more rest. They don't complain about the taxing situation, but you probably have them playing Summer League. You probably have them playing Street Ball League or Vegas League or out on the Beach League, wherever they play in LA. NBA has moved up, of course, their start of their season, the regular season, up a week. What they've also decided to do is lowering the amount of back-to-backs that teams play. Also, they have eliminated the 4 games in 5 days. So the team won't be playing 4 games in 5 days. Also, they've lowered the amount of 5 games in 7 days. And they've also lowered the single game road trips. So that means the team is not going to go out of town. They won't go out of town as much for just one game and then come back home. So they're trying to lower that amount. I don't think they can ever get rid of it, but I think they're trying to lower that amount. Because that's taxing, flying out for one game and then going to fly back. All this is to help the players, try to keep the players on the court, not give stars days off, that sort of thing. Especially it happens with back-to-backs. So this is just to give players the opportunity to be on the court more. Um, I appreciate the NBA trying to help them out. Personally, I don't think they should have tried to help them out. These guys are paid a full contract, and I guarantee you, if the coaches, if the players knew that they weren't going to get paid a check for sitting, especially when they're not injured, they're just sitting talking about rest. You hear that? Rest. I mean, baseball does it too, and that's wrong too. But if they knew they were going to miss a game's check if they sat out, they'd play. Now they can tank or give a half-ass performance, but they will play. And I don't think you should gyp the fans because you say you need rest. First of all, you don't practice. So the coaches are giving you rest anyway by not practicing because your coach say it all the time. We don't have time to practice because it's probably either doing traveling or you're trying to give somebody some rest because you've done a back-to-back. You just had a game, 5 games in 7 days or 4 games in 5 days. You're getting your rest there. You're getting the time off. So the NBA is adjusting your schedule. It's not going to allow the coaches to have you practice more. You're still just going to use it for rest. But we're going to see if it makes a difference in players playing more. Because if the players don't play more, if I'm the NBA, I ain't making no more change for it. Matter of fact, might go back to whatever it is. Because you're still jipping the fans. If you're not going to play 82 games, you're jipping the fans. Because there's people who are paying top dollar to see you, the best players, the stars, play. And so when your coaches decide at the last minute you're not going to play, and that fan doesn't get to see their best player, their favorite player play, and they've paid top dollar for it. Nobody gives them a refund for it. Nobody gives them a rain check. So everybody sit here and want to talk about this one side. NBA players to me are divas. They're pampered. And that's ridiculous. They're getting paid probably more money other than baseball players, if not probably more than baseball players, when you're talking about dollar for dollar. And actually, they are getting paid more because 82 games. Baseball players have to play twice the amount. So, you're getting paid all this money. You're paid to play. So we can reduce the amount of games. We can reduce how much you travel. We can reduce the number of back-to-backs. Whatever it is that you need to reduce, and we need to reduce the amount that you get paid as well. Or if you just want to miss games, hey, I'll still give you these changes. But if you still miss a game, don't give you a check. But the owners are got to be smart about it. Dude, you're paying these guys? You're paying these guys to play 70 games instead of 82? Why don't you just tell the league to change the amount of games to 70 games? Anyway, that's my rant on that. I just don't think it's fair from a fan's perspective, and I just think the players are a little too pampered, so I have a problem with that. Nevertheless, that was my rant on that. Lastly, I had just read an article about the Dream Team. Dream Team, the NBA team that went to the Olympics in 1992. This is basically, this year they're celebrating their 25th year. 25 years ago is when they went to the Olympics, and they basically waxed everybody. And people thought it was crazy that they should play. But then, like I said, people are never satisfied. When the 88 team of college students lost by 6 points to Russia, everybody says, "Oh, it's our rookies playing. I mean, it's our college kids playing. You guys got people who are playing in professional leagues, playing all the time. Oh, we want our best out there as well." So they got the best out there, and then once the best wax everybody by 40, 50 points a game, everybody's saying, "Well, maybe we should add make up your mind, people. What do you want? You either want the best out there or you don't." And then whichever you choose, there's no complaints. Just do it. Anyway, what we thought was funny, the story that I read is, what ifs the teams could have been different. And what I thought was interesting, what I want to focus on is the players that did not play. There were 3 players that did not play that easily could have been on this team, and for whatever circumstances, they did not play. So I was just wondering if these 3 players were added, it could have been worse than what they were already doing. Case in point, Isaiah Thomas instead of John Stockton. You have to remember that Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan had a beef. I think where they isolated Michael Jordan in one of the All-Star games. I think it was the '85 All-Star game, and Isaiah always in the middle of the shadiness, and so one of the stipulations for Michael Jordan in order for him to play on the '92 team is that he said Isaiah Thomas could not come, so he held a 7-year grudge for him. And I think '85 Jordan might have been a second-year man, third-year man. So, uh, so he said Isaiah can't come. So NBA wanted Michael Jordan to be there, pull that shady move and done it. No, you get along. You go out there and you play. They want the best out there to play. The man rightfully deserved to be on the team over John Stockton. That's what you do. But instead, as you see, Jordan got all the calls. And, this day and age, everybody complains about other people getting preferential treatment. If social media was like it was and the media was like it was 25 years ago, you would have saw who or the aura or the image of Michael Jordan really was. Nevertheless, that was one thing. So Isaiah set up Stockton in the game. Next one, Dominique Wilkins over Clyde Drexler. Everybody said, "What? I didn't Dominique get on the team." Dominique had I almost forgot. I think it wasn't an Achilles. Oh, it might have been. I think he tore his Achilles in a January basketball game in January of '92. So of course he was not going to be able to play in July of '92 with the Dream Team. So that is the reason how Clyde Drexler got on this team instead of Dominique Wilkins. And so Dominique Wilkins missed it as well. So think about it. Dominique and Isaiah on the squad. You're talking about Dominique Wilkins, who doesn't do anything but score buckets. Isaiah, who knows how to pass the ball and play point guard defense. That's something right there, right? So, and then Dominique Wilkins probably would have loved to play with Magic Johnson. He had a chance to do it in 1982. The Lakers could have drafted him. Instead, they went with James Worthy, and I guess it was a smart move because Dominique's a scorer, and Magic ain't want nobody ain't trying to pass. Don't want too many more scorers on the field. But it was more of Dominique didn't fit the system. It was more James Worthy fitting the system, and Worthy had a little bit better defense, I guess you could say. So it was a strategical move. It wasn't hating on Dominique Wilkins or not wanting another scorer, but it makes sense. You don't want another scorer. But anyway, Isaiah and Dominique. And then the last one, of course, you probably all have heard Shaquille O'Neal over Christian Laettner. Some people beefed about that, but really at that time, Christian Laettner was walked on water. He's one of the best, one of the best college players of all time, and at least at that time, he was considered the best college player. Shaquille O'Neal even admitted as such. He said Laettner was more refined in his skills at that time than he was, and that's because Shaq was basically younger. Shaq said I had more of the power and what have you, but as for just the regular skill, Laettner already had that, so it kind of, he's okay with them choosing him for that reason. But you ask a lot of people, and even for my money, I would say take Shaq. So you think about Shaq, Isaiah, Dominique on this squad, on this Dream Team, and not Stockton, Drexler, or Laettner. These guys could have won by 60 or 70 a night. Could have been bananas. And I think they beat Angola like by 80, didn't they? So that was what I thought was interesting. The flip side of it is a couple of players that possibly couldn't have been on the team. Michael Jordan, of course, because he said originally he was adamant about not being on the team. Part of it is he didn't want to lose the Summers. Second thing is he had already gotten a gold medal in '84, so he wanted to give other people a chance. And then I think there were rumors about whether about him not being patriotic, which is dumb. He's giving somebody a chance to play. He's won one. So, it's just people wanting him to play, and that's all it was. And like I said, people put a spin on anything, and that's how things fell apart. So he originally decided to play, but what if he had not played? It would have been interesting to see who would have been on the team if he had not played. Who would they have got? Another shooting guard? Who would have been another shooting guard? And then also Magic Johnson, who had the HIV situation. What if he had not been healthy enough to play, or what if people balked at him being on that team because of his condition? Could have been interesting as well as who's going to be on that team. Who could have been on that team if Magic and MJ weren't on that team? Most of the other guys really wanted to play, so it was no big thing for them. Karl Malone, I think he even said he would have put his own bill to go. So most of the guys really wanted to play, and that was a good thing. So it was an interesting story. So I thought I'd bring it up and see what it was all about. But it could have been a pretty dominant team with the three guys that were actually missing. Um, what it would have been like without Magic and MJ. I mean, they still would have been dominant, but of course, it loses a little luster when you probably got two of the best players in the game at that time, not on the squad. So uh, that was NBA. Lastly, I'm going to talk about college football. Real quickly, a friend of mine in the sports room on Facebook was talking about their preseason picks for conference champions from the big Power Five conferences. I'm an FSU fan, so with goes without saying ACC, I'm going to say FSU. Um, I'm not going to pick anybody else. If somebody else picks them, if somebody else wins it, then so be it. I'm wrong. It is what it is. SEC, I'm not a big Bama fan. Well, I'm not a Bama fan, so I'm going with Auburn. I don't trust any team in the SEC East. LSU, I still got to know if they're going to have a passing game. So I guess the pick I'm going to go with is Auburn. They seem like they're much improved. Bama has to come to Auburn, so that's why I'm okay with picking Auburn. If that game was in Tuscaloosa, I'd go ahead and pick Bama because at the end of the day, that's just what it is. They play LSU at home. They play at home. Bama plays at home to LSU. So the truth of the matter is, they'll probably win the conference again. But if there's one slip up possible, it's going to Auburn to play them. So I'll go with them. Big 12, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Oklahoma, the game is in Oklahoma, is in Stillwater, so it's at Oklahoma State. And I'm not sure if Oklahoma is going to be necessarily better. Bob Stoops is not coaching that team anymore. He didn't leave the cupboard empty. The thing is, he's not on the sidelines anymore. Uh, but they say Oklahoma is still loaded. I think the quarterback's still back, a couple other players. But I just want to do something different. So I said, well, who else could it be? Oklahoma State. Texas will be better. I think Baylor's going to go down. I don't know about TCU or Texas Tech. Maybe it's Gundy's turn to finally get it done. So I'm going to go to Oklahoma State. For the Pac-12, I'm going to go with USC. I really tried to find a reason not to pick them, but they don't play Washington this year. Uh, and the rest of the schedule looks like it's doable. So I'm going to go with USC. They got a lot of talent coming back. They lost a lot of talent. It seems like they reloaded pretty well, and that's the chic pick. So I'm going to go with it. So I'll go with USC. And then lastly, with the Big Ten, I almost picked Ohio State, but I didn't want to. So I was like, well, I got to come up with a different option. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. That's right. Not Penn State, not Michigan, Wisconsin. And the only reason I'm picking Wisconsin is because of their schedule. Wisconsin probably plays the easiest schedule in the world. The only tough game that looks like it's on that schedule is their home against Michigan. It's a late game. It's a late in the season game, and Michigan could be in some trouble before then. They do play the Gators the first weekend of the season, uh, and then they have Ohio State after Wisconsin, but they still play. I think they still play Penn State, so they got some tough games before uh, before Wisconsin. But that game is going to be in Madison, and the rest of Wisconsin's schedule looks like a cakewalk. They say it's a little bit of question about the QB play, but um, they have the schedule to run the table. Uh, if they don't beat Michigan in that one game, they won't win the Big Ten. But if they can beat Michigan, then the sky's the limit for them. That could be your sleeper in the playoffs if the strength of schedule doesn't hurt them. So Wisconsin is my pick for the Big Ten because the schedule says it's easy. It's an easy way. So that was the story concerning college football, at least from that. Lastly, I want to talk about something that was really important to me, and it's college football. Josh Rosen, quarterback for UCLA, uh, made a comment today saying football and school does not go together. And then he went on to talk about different things, and he also said that, to give an example, he said, well, if the SAT requirements were raised up, uh, Alabama wouldn't be as good as they are. And before people say, "Oh man, he took a shot at Bama," blah 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 blah. What he's basically saying is that I don't think he was taking a shot at Bama. I think what he was basically trying to do is say, "Hey, this has been the more dominant team all these years. They've won 4 national titles in the last 8 years, number one recruiting class in some circles for 5 years in a row." He's basically saying that if the standards were raised by the school to even meet what they have, what UCLA has, or if the NCAA just raised the standards, then they may not have that talent there. But the point behind that, or what the point I would ask, or the question I would ask Josh is, okay, so what happens to the player? What are you saying about the players? Are you saying if you raise it, then those players just wouldn't be good enough to go to that school? But where would they go? Would they go to 1AA? Would they go to the Group of Five schools? What is it? Well, I mean, I got what he was trying to say. But what happens to the players? Because are you saying the players aren't as smart as the ones that go to UCLA, and that's the reason why they're able to get those? And you're saying the more talented players are the ones that are not as smart. So it opens a can of worms. It opens Pandora's box when you make a statement like that. But I got what he was trying to say. He was just trying to say that, hey, if you raise the standards, and I'm talking about on a high level standpoint, if you raise the standards, Alabama's not that dominant. But who gets those players? And what are you saying about those players? So that's where the concern comes into play right there. Because Rosen went on to talk about uh, football in school is like football in a job. And he's got a point. I've seen the schedules. I've seen a mock schedule for Florida State and for Alabama, and what these players have to do. It's football in school. They don't have another life, and it begs. That's the reason why they ask for money or stipends, because they don't have time to do anything else. If they're not in class, they're on a football field. So that's So I got what he was trying to say there. So I thought that was interesting. Uh, he says that the schools are just trying to keep players eligible and not trying to keep them in school. Great point there. That's what the schools are saying. Hey, I just want to make you eligible to play this year. Whether you're going to be here, if you're going to be here next year, and whether you can play next year, we can't worry about that right now, and it might be up to you in that particular case. But if they keep them eligible for 1 year, they can probably keep them eligible for the next year if they want to come back next year. But a lot of these players are only trying to put in 3 years anyway. So that's where it comes into play there. So, he's also saying that, hey, they're just trying to keep them eligible and they're not trying to keep them playing. And I'm like, look here, Josh. You had the option to go to different schools. If you had wanted to go to Alabama, the Alabama doesn't have to recruit you to go there. You could have reached out to them and maybe they could say, hey, yeah, who wants you to come? Get a scholarship or whatever. But the thing is, you don't want to give the perception that you're throwing rocks at another school and questioning the intelligence levels of their players because you can't win consistently. You don't want to do that. So, although I was trying to understand what you're saying, and I got what you were saying, it can be misconstrued to somebody else. It can be interpreted a different way from somebody else, and you want to be careful about that. Josh also took a shot at the NCAA, saying that UCLA, was able to sign a 15-year, $280 million deal with Under Armour. And he says, but yet they are considered amateurs, but UCLA has just basically made $280 million off of them. So, so maybe that's what it comes back around to. He feels like, hey, if I'm just going to play ball, I don't need to go to school, and I need to get paid for it, or I need to get paid for it. So he threw a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it's valid. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And unfortunately, there's no avenue right now for you to skip school and just play football until you're 3 years into college. But maybe at some point somebody will get around to that. In the meantime, hey man, you can't take shots at other teams. Your school's requirements are your school's requirements. You don't hear Harvard and Yale and Princeton complaining about they can't get quality players. They're getting the players that they want. They want their standards to be what their standards are. If you want the same type of players Alabama got, and you think that those players don't have your education or your your educational talent, talk to UCLA, tell them to lower their requirements, or you try to go to school and play with them. You know, try not to throw salt on them like that. You know, but I got what you're saying. But in the day, like I said, you can misconstrue it as are you trying to take a shot at the intelligence of it. Again, players that go there, players that go there, and if they go to the school, they go to the school. Everybody has different requirements. University of Miami is a private school. You know, certain players can't go there. USC is a private school, so players at UCLA can get. Some players USC can't get because it's a private school. So that means, it costs money to go there. Big time money. So everybody has different rules. You got to play with the hand that you dealt. And you guys have won games before. Plenty of teams outside of Alabama have won national titles. I mean, so if you're going to take that shot at Alabama, you got to call out everybody else. You got to call out Clemson, you defended champ. You got to call out Florida State. You got to call out Ohio State. They've all won titles in the past 8 years as well. So let's be careful, buddy. But I was smart enough to understand. So, it is what it is. But it'll be a debate that goes on for all times. There's no way that you can balance out the playing field. There's no way to do it. The NCAA can raise their standards, but still the schools have their own standards as well. What you gonna do? Anyway, good thing you don't play Alabama this year. Nevertheless, that was my rant for the day, and I just thought it was interesting to talk on it. Um, always play the more you can say on it. I do not believe in paying college football players. I believe that the NFL should create a minor league, just like baseball has one. And NBA is basically developing one. When you're talking about the D League, NFL should create one, and then that way, players who just don't want to go to college, they don't have to go to college. They can go to their D League, or they can go to NFL D League, or whatever they want to call it, and prepare there. Ain't gonna stop anybody from watching college football. I'm fine with that. So, anyway, that's my stuff for today. Any other news that pops up of relevance or very high importance, I'll definitely let you know. Um, other than that, uh, take care. God bless you and everyone else, everyone in the world, and free Colin Kaepernick.